Guys, I finally did it. I finally got these pansies to work. Please keep watching if you would like to see how I made these absolutely gorgeous little pansies. Hey guys, today we're going to try out a new resin design that I have seen. So there's a lovely lady. I'm going to link her name down below because I don't want to say it and ruin it. I believe it is pronounced Cathii. I'm not even going to try and pronounce the second name because I don't want to ruin it. But she makes these incredible flower coasters. And I am absolutely in love with her pansy. So we're going to try today a pansy. We're going to do a larger circle one and then a smaller one in this oval piece. And yeah, I've not tried this. I don't have the same pigments and things that she has, but we'll see how it goes. So because it's me, I'm going to have my pansies be purple and yellow for the first one, and then purple and orange for the second one. For the white that she uses to make it really heavy, she uses Squdge Craft. Now I can't get hold of that, but I have got the Resin opaque pigment. So these are transparent pigments and these are opaque. This is an opaque pigment, so this should be heavier, which means it should still fall through the resin and create the same effects. I have then got this gorgeous glitter that is not that easy to pick up by the camera in the bag, but that is going to be the centres of our pansies. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to get my respirator, my gloves and everything else on. I'm going to mix up the resin and then I'm going to come back, divide it with the colours, show you what we're doing. So you're going to need pots for each pigment. I'm going to want more purple than I am yellow and orange, so that's going to be a division. I'm then going to have some with the white, and with that I have got these piping bags. She does it with sandwich bags, but she's got some really nice, like these type press and seal bags. I couldn't get hold of any of those because we're currently on lockdown here in the UK, so I couldn't get hold of any of those, but I did manage to get some of these on Amazon, so I'm going to try it with these. Yeah, so I'll come back when we're ready to start. Okie dokie, so I've got my resin in my large cup that I've mixed. I'm now dividing it into my smaller silicone cups for the different colours. So I'm going to use that tiny bit there is going to be for some glitter. So I'll start with the white, which I've got over on the side. This is some opaque white pigment from Resin 8, which is absolutely lovely, lovely thick opaque white. It's gorgeous. So then I've got translucent purple in that cup. I'm just mixing up. I love that colour, love it. Just made it a little bit darker. There we go, that is a gorgeous purple. So that's in there, that's the one I've got most of. Then I've got a small amount of this yellow translucent Resin 8 pigment, which is going to be for one of the pansies, and then the other one is going to have this orange translucent pigment, which is also going to be teamed with the purple. So that's those three. Okie dokie, and now we're going to get our glitter. Now this glitter is absolutely stunning. I got this mix from a lady at a craft fair. It's sort of silver and multicoloured, and it is stunning. So what I've done is I've mixed quite a lot of glitter into that little cup of resin. We sort of want it to be quite a thick paste rather than being runny like the rest of the resin, because we kind of want it to sit in one spot. Hello, Squeaky. Sorry, that's my cat come to say hello. So we're going to mix that in, and then we're going to move our mould closer to us so that we can start with a layer of clear. So that clear is going into both moulds, and then I'm just going to tip it round so that we get it all over the bottom of the mould. These moulds are absolutely stunning. I got them off Amazon. I'll put the link below for you. I love working with these. They make lovely art pieces. So quick pop of the bubbles with my heat gun, just to make sure that where I've tipped it and where we've poured it, there's no little bubbles lurking. And then we're going to start. So purple, we're going to put 2 large circles of purple towards the top of each mould. And then in the circular one, we're going to do 2 little orange circles and sort of fill in that side area. And then we're going to do the same with the yellow on the smaller one. Sorry, it keeps going out of focus there. It's because my hand is in the way of it focusing on the actual moulds. And then our sort of glittery paste we're going to put in the centre. So we're just going to do a little blob of that glittery paste in the centre of each one as the centre of our flower. Now comes the fun bit. So I'm going to put the piping bag over a glass. As I said, you can use a sandwich bag if you would prefer. And then I'm going to pour that white that's been mixed with the resin into the sandwich bag or the piping bag. If you've got a sandwich bag, you are going to need to pour it into one corner, which is a bit more fiddly. With the piping bag, obviously, it's got a point at the end, so that works fine. So I have poured my white in. I'm going to do a final blast to pop any bubbles that have come up since the glitter or the coloured pigment has gone in. Then I'm going to squeeze that white all the way down to the bottom of the bag. So then I'm going to twist it tight so that I can use it. Twist that off, get all the air out. I'm going to snip off the end with a pair of scissors. And we're going to do our white lines. Now, if you look at a pansy, we're going to try and draw the petals with this. So we're going to do a big heart at the bottom over the yellow or the orange. And then 2 little hearts over the top bit of purple. We're then going to do a teardrop shape on either side, filling in those gaps. And then you can go back and thicken up any lines that need thickening up. So where I was doing it for the first time, some of them are a bit thicker than others. So I've just sort of evened up those lines. And then we're going to give it a blast with the heat gun. Now the plan with this is you are sort of pushing that white pigment so that it spreads out slightly. Okay, we've already popped all the bubbles. The whole point of this is just to spread that white. We are then going to pop some more of that glitter and resin paste on top in the centre, and then we're going to leave it to cure. Hey guys, so we're going to demould our pansies. They haven't quite worked. As you may have noticed, the resin was setting up really, really quickly. It was so hot yesterday. I was literally dripping with sweat. So the resin did start to cure before I'd even got it poured and mixed and things. So we'll have a look, but I think I'm going to have to do another attempt at these, but we'll see. And it's all cured nicely. I wasn't sure if the white was going to cure. Can slightly feel the glitter in the middle there, but we'll see. I mean, these are very thin, so they could quite easily have another layer on top. So here is the purple and orange. If I move that out of the way, actually. There's the purple and orange, and then there is the other side. Yeah, see, none of that white has come through the colour because it was, the clear had already started to set up, which is as well why you can feel this, which is a bit of a shame. Yeah, so I think we're going to have another go at this. This did not quite go to plan. It was so hot yesterday when I was pouring these. So we're going to have the same thing here, that they haven't really come through. But this one I don't mind from the front, or from the back. Whereas this one is it's a bit slapdash really. I think we're going to have another practice at these. Yeah. Hey guys, it's LG here. We are going to do another set of the pansies, but I've changed 2 things this time. So firstly, it is a much cooler day. The other day it was very hot and the resin was just setting up almost instantly, which is why I think it didn't work. So we're going to try exactly the same again. I've got the same colourants, the same white, everything. The second thing I've changed is the resin. So I use Resin 8, as you know I love Resin 8. Due to the lockdown and all the problems that we're having, they are short on resin. So I thought, as I'm not doing, I've still got my resin for any orders that come in, but as I'm doing sort of some practicing and learning some new techniques and tricks and things, I thought I would test 2 other resins that I can still buy currently at reasonable prices to see what they're like. I don't think I'm likely to change from Resin 8 because I love them as a company. I think their resins are incredible. but I thought we might as well give this a chance, see what it's like, see if it is worth having options. First one is, what is the first one? Amazing Clear Pass is the first one. So this is a 1-to-1, so I'm going to do exactly the same as last time, put it on fast forward, and I'll come back and see you at the end. Okie dokie, so I've mixed up this resin. I mean, the first point I'm going to say is the smell is awful. So I opened the bottles, they had a seal on the bottle, and I didn't have my respirator on at that point, and I actually thought I was going to be sick. The smell is awful. I mean, it helps me to know that my respirator still works, because once I've got it on, I can't smell it. So that's good. So that's the first point with this resin, is the smell is very, very strong. So again, as the first time, I have poured some clear resin into the moulds. I'm just going to spread it around, give it a blast with the heat torch, pop out any bubbles before we start doing the same colours. So I've got my purple, my orange, my yellow, my white and my glitter. So for a first time using this resin, do you know what, it's actually not too bad once you use it. If the smell is the smell. I mean, I can't really describe it. It's a bit like rotting fish. I'm very lucky in that Resin 8 has no real smell at all. So even when I'm sort of tidying up afterwards, if a bit had been spilled or if there's tissues that I'm putting away, like I can't smell anything from it. Touch wood. This one does smell a lot, but again, as I said, it proves that my respirator works. So we've popped the bubbles, and now I'm going to start pouring in the coloured resins. So oh yeah, that's my second point. Bubbles. This resin is so full of bubbles. So full of bubbles. You know, I went over it several times with the heat gun and the toothpick, and there were still bubbles around. I mixed it very carefully so that we didn't increase the amount of bubbles in there, but there were a lot. So there we go, I've poured my purple, I've poured my orange, blobs and side effects, and then I'm going to do the yellow on the oval one. Mixed quite nicely with the colours. I had no issues at all with it mixing with the colours. They went in quite nicely. Give it another blast with the torch, because adding that colour added so many bubbles. That might be a bit of a common theme with this resin at the moment. I'm struggling with it. So now we're going to do our white. So I'm just pouring the white again into a sandwich bag. Being lazy this time, I didn't bother to put the sandwich bag over a glass. I just poured it straight from the silicone cup in, pushing it down to the end of the piping bag. Of course, you can use a sandwich bag. We're going to snip the end off, ready to draw the same shapes. And then I realised, no, I've forgotten my resin with the glitter. So this time, rather than clear resin, I used a bit of the purple, which I think actually looked quite nice with that glitter. I didn't stop the colours coming through. The glitter was still as beautiful. So again, put a blob of it in the centre of each one. Then we're going to start doing our white. I have a tendency to skip ahead when I get excited. So yeah, pop those bubbles, and now we're going to do our white. So we've got it in the bag. We're going to snip the end off so that we can write and draw with it. And this is where I had a bit of an issue, which I'll explain in a second. So yeah, that sort of lost me a little bit of time. Sorted it out, came back, ready to draw. So we did our two little hearts at the top, big heart at the bottom, teardrop on each side. Now we'll do the smaller one. Two little hearts at the top, and then I realised we had a big problem. So the white had cured in the bag. So what I tried to do was I tried as much as possible on that small one to just scoop out the white. I didn't want to ruin it completely, so I didn't want to scoop out everything, but I scooped out what I could. Added some more purple. Thankfully I had some left to sort of redo those purple circles at the top. And then because I had some extra, I thought I'd try and draw the floral petal shape with the orange and see how that came out. This was also thickening up quite a lot at this point, but I had a go. I just drew some normal petals. I didn't do the heart shapes. I just did sort of, I think, 5 or 6 petals. Yeah. Okie dokie, guys, we are back, and we've had similar problems. Similar problems. So if I remind you, the first two, none of the white came through. So look on this one again, the white had set up in the bag. This, however, was my error. I bent slightly awkwardly doing these. I think maybe when I was doing this orange, I'm not entirely sure when, but I bent really awkwardly and my back just spasmed. So I had to go and lie down for a couple of minutes to try and stop myself from crying. And then the white had cured before I'd even got there. But what I find odd is, so the orange here is all nicely mixed. You've got a couple of little bits where I dribbled it wrong, but it's all nice. Whereas both the purple and the orange in this one are so patchy. I don't know whether it's the resin doesn't like the pigments or I did something wrong. I don't know. I'm going to have another go with this resin and see how we get on. And then, as you saw, the white was too cured to even put it on this one. So what I did was I used the excess orange to draw some petals. And do you know what? I actually, if you ignore the back where the white came through, I don't mind that as a sort of abstract-y style piece. But I'm counting both of these again as a failure. So we're going to try again today. Okie dokie, take 3. So I have mixed up, I've poured the resin into my cup again. I have mixed it up. A third point I would like to make about this resin is it is just so thick. It actually hurt my hands having to mix this. It was so thick that you're always going to get some bubbles incorporated anyway with thicker resin. But even after putting it in, I had a little cup of water from the sink, a little bowl of water, and I stood the bottle in it for about 3 or 4 minutes, which is what I normally do with other resins when they get too thick, and it made absolutely no difference on this. I then used my heat gun, because I've seen other people hold a heat gun pointed at the cup while you're mixing. That didn't help it, didn't make it any thinner, didn't make it any easier to mix. I also found that my torch didn't pop the bubbles. So I was getting quite frustrated with it at this point because it was hurting my hands a lot, and popping bubbles was sort of difficult. So what I did is I decided to split it into the smaller pots, which are just off the side there, mix the colours in, and then go from there. So I've poured the remainder of the clear into the base of the moulds. Now this is a very, very thin one because I hadn't poured quite enough resin, but there we go. So I have poured it into these moulds. I'm going to spread it round to the sides and we're going to pop the bubbles. I found with this very thin layer, this was much thinner than the last 2 attempts. Actually, the bubbles popped really nicely once I got the heat gun out. So I think with this resin, as long as you're using it for very thin layers, it's absolutely fine bubble wise. So again, brought the gun in just to pop those bubbles and they popped really, really easily. Yeah, I did quite laugh at the shadow that I've got because I've got my my band on my head and my respirator gave me an odd looking shadow. So mixing up the colours, we're going to start with our purple and then we've got our yellow and our orange, exactly the same as the last 2 attempts. And then we've got our small pot ready for our glitter that I remembered this time, and our white. Now, if you do look carefully in that larger circle mould on the sort of left-hand side, you can see there's a little gap where there's no resin. That is how much of a thin layer I poured into these moulds because I just hadn't mixed enough. That's completely my error. I'd totally forgotten how much was needed. But in the end, because I'm pouring in the coloured resin, it does actually solve the problem on its own. So ordinarily I'd have to mix some more to make that flood the bottom completely, but for this situation it was fine. So starting with our purple, we're going to do 2 large blobs at the top on each mould. There we go. I love that colour. Sorry, I always get distracted by this purple. It's just such a nice colour. Then we're going to do our orange. 2 circles at the bottom And then we're going to fill in the gap between the orange and purple. So we're going to do a little blob going in the centre to the left and then across to the right as well. Scraping out all the bits of resin in this one. There we go, filling in our right hand side. Then we're going to do the same with our yellow in the oval mould. So 2 small circles down at the bottom and then filling the sides with the remainder. This yellow I didn't do quite as bright as the previous ones. I didn't add quite as much pigment. So there is our yellow in. We're going to add our glitter paste in the centre. This one was very, very thick. I'd used even less resin and even more glitter. Now, as you can see, that glitter did sort of splurge to the side slightly there. But you can move it over using your heat gun and put it back into the very centre. So I've popped all my bubbles. I'm just spreading out that purple up the top. And then we are going to use our white. So this time around, I think I'd got the timings right. I don't want to blow my own trumpet because third time lucky and all that. But I'm going to pop the white into this bag, and as we pour it on, I could tell straight away that this time was different. Okay? So again, if you've got a sandwich bag, pour it into one corner. If you've got a piping bag, I'll have the link for these piping bags. They were really cheap on Amazon, down below. Snip off the end, sort of push all the air out, push it down to the end, snip off the point, and then we're going to do it. Now, I was nervous, but as soon as it goes on, I could tell it was going to work. And the reasoning is, there's our little hearts, our big heart at the bottom, and our 2 teardrop shapes. And the reason that I could see this was going to work was the fact that the resin underneath was still very, very liquidy, and it was already starting to spread. So I'm thickening those lines up, and the reason this works so well is that the opaque pigment, be it the one I'm using from Resin 8 or Casting Craft or wherever, it has a different density to the translucent and transparent resin, so it will sink through. So I've poured my white on, I've thickened up my lines, and then we're going to use our heat gun just to focus on that white, because it will have incorporated some bubbles, but we also want that white to start spreading. So you can see there, I'm pushing against the white and it is spreading out. And this was when I did a little happy dance because I thought, yes, this one's going to work. Hey guys, so we're back to demould our pansies. These ones have definitely worked a lot better. The white is definitely mixed. I'm really liking that. So let's have a look. So let's take this off. So that is from this side. Oh, there's a bit of static, and that is the other side. Love that. Absolutely love that. And this one is adorable. I think I might prefer the oval one to the yeah, look at that. And the back on that one is stunning as well. Oh, I am very pleased with those. What do you think, guys? They look beautiful, don't they? So yeah, thank you very much for joining me today. I really hope you've enjoyed seeing my fails and then my successes. So if we just pop over the first couple, we definitely had a few fails, didn't we? A few fails before we got the ones to work, but these are just incredible. Thank you very much for spending time with me today, guys. Keep safe, keep crafting. I'll see you soon. Bye.